So hello everybody. In this live session, I want to explore this question: are repressed emotions affecting your ME, CFS, long COVID, healing and recovery? If you are watching live, do feel free to say hello in the chat. Let me know where you are in the world. If you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay. Again, let me know where you are in the world. And I'd also be interested to know what your interest is in this topic. And I'm doing this video because someone asked this question around how do we know if we are suppressing, repressing emotions. So in this video, I'll talk about the difference between, and thank you for the likes that people have given me. In the video, I'll talk about the difference between suppression and repression, why repressed emotions can get stuck in our body, subtle signs that you may be repressing emotions, and we'll explore a gentle, safe way of reconnecting with what is going on below the radar. Most importantly, why this is helpful if you have ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID, and related conditions. So this is not about digging things up forcefully. It's more about building awareness, safety, and healing from the inside out. So if you don't know me, my name's Simon Pimenta. I had ME, CFS, fibromyalgia for 8-9 years, and I went from not being able to walk at one point for 1 minute to being able to work again, live my life, play sport again. I did get an injury a while back, which has slowed me down a bit, but life is still great. And what really helped me was brain training approaches, and specifically mind-body work. And the more I've been learning about mind-body approaches, the more I believe that it's a really important piece of the jigsaw. If you check out my video where I talk about myths around the mind-body connection, I also talk in that video about a few clients who have benefited from the approaches I'm going to talk about today. So now I do create lots of content to help you move towards your goals. Lots of that is free. If you check out my YouTube channel, I've created, I have created lots of playlists and videos to help you. And this is information that I would have found helpful when I first got sick. So Dip says, hi from Florida. Thank you so much for doing this. You are welcome, Dip. Thanks for joining me. So yeah, if you do like my videos, do leave a comment. It helps other people find videos. Do subscribe, hit the notification button. You'll be notified when I release more content. And a lot of the videos, or some of the videos, have links to free PDFs below. Okay, so do leave a like, comment, do share, help other people find the video. And Canadian, how do I say that? Canadianese says, hi Simon, glad to be watching. Nice to have you join us. I see a few more people have joined, so feel free to say hello. Thanks for joining me. It's always more interesting when people participate. So let's get into this topic. So we're going to explore this topic of emotions and why suppressed emotions why repressed emotions can fly under the radar, but they can have a huge impact on your illness and your capacity for your body to recuperate. So if you do have one of those conditions, ME, CFS, long COVID, fibromyalgia, let me know in the chat. Repressed emotions can keep our nervous system in a state of dysregulation without us realizing it. And this makes it harder for the body to heal. So first thing I want to talk about then is the difference between suppression and repression. So suppression of emotions is when we consciously choose to push down those emotions and not act on them. For example, you might feel anger due to the way someone's behaving, but you might decide now is not the time. Okay, you might just think it's not safe to do so. For instance, if you're in a bar with someone behaving badly with all their friends, you might think actually this doesn't feel safe. Other times it might be that you don't want to show your emotions. This was something for me that I kind of didn't validate my emotions. So I didn't want to show other people that I was feeling some emotion. I worried what people would think of me if I expressed my emotions. And I didn't want to cause conflict, because in the past, I found conflict a little bit scary. Whereas now, if someone is behaving badly, I'm more comfortable with saying, actually, that doesn't feel okay. And if they start, kind of mouthing off a bit, I'm more able to just stay in my centre and not be affected by them. Whereas in the past, that would be very triggering. So that's suppression. Sometimes it is necessary and healthy. Repressed emotions, on the other hand, are unconscious or subconscious. This is when we experience some feelings in the past and we learned that expressing those emotions was too much for others or unsafe. So they got buried, often without your awareness that you didn't make that decision consciously. Often we model the behavior that we experience, that we see from other people. So this can start very early in life, especially in environments where emotional expression wasn't welcome or where trauma occurred. I always remember seeing a young child falling over and grazing her knee, and there's a little bit of blood, and she was crying, and one of her aunts said to her, "Oh, don't be silly." And I just thought, that's not really a very helpful thing to say. And what it told me is that this person didn't have the bandwidth to be able to accommodate a child who was just upset. What that child needed was a little kiss and a hug, and there. We'll wash your leg. We'll put some ointment on it. It'll be fine. All right. So, but often we had to make the choice between showing up authentically, expressing our emotions, or being accepted, loved, and safe. And we chose the latter. We chose to be safe, accepted and loved, rather than being authentic. In an ideal world, we'd experience both and be encouraged to show up authentically. Okay, but remember, for instance, if it was your parents who kind of discouraged you from showing your emotions, they were just doing the best they could with the resources they had. Okay, so why do repressed emotions matter if you have a chronic health challenge like ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID? Well, when emotions are repressed over and over, they don't go away. They get stored in the body. Okay, I've talked about this before, but Peter Levine, who's a very experienced therapist and trauma therapist, says that the emotions get locked in our muscles. Our muscles are holding those emotions in, and that causes tension and fatigue. It can cause digestive issues, or that sense of being on edge. Okay, so the body in that state isn't functioning how it's supposed to. And I suspect you've had the experience at times of just feeling completely grounded, connected to your body. Maybe you're with people you feel comfortable with, and you just have a sense of energy, of openness, of relaxedness. Let me know in the chat if that's something that you have experienced. Okay, and so that's the kind of opposite of what happens when we hold everything in. So I learned an approach called the mind-body reconnect, and it was created by a woman called Claire Caldwell. You may have come across her. And what I learned from that approach is that we don't look at symptoms as random malfunctions, but as messages from your emotional brain. And it's your emotional brain's way of alerting your attention, helping you identify what it is you need. It might be safety, it might be expression, it might be just to acknowledge and feel those emotions. Okay. And for me, even though I've been teaching people, training people with these conditions for a long time, since about 2006, when I learned what Claire was offering, I felt like it was a piece of the jigsaw that I hadn't come across before. And it's a very intriguing approach. And as I said earlier, this video I made on myth busting, I talk about two people in particular who had long COVID, who by learning these strategies, and I think we've only started working this year, they've made significant dramatic changes. Okay, so this is powerful stuff. So let's look at some signs you may have repressed emotions, and just let me know. You can put the number in the chat if you can resonate with this one. Okay, so number one, you feel numb or disconnected from your feelings. If you recognize that one, just pop a 1 in the chat. Number two, you often say, I don't know, when you're asked how you feel. Okay, or maybe you don't drop your T like I just did. You say, I don't know. All right, but that can be a common sign sometimes when I'm working with people. To begin with, they're not very versed in kind of identifying the emotions that they're feeling. And that can come with practice. And I'm going to share a 4-step strategy at the end to help you do that. So the third one, which of course many people who are going to be watching this video are experiencing, is you have chronic tension or fatigue with no clear cause. So number 4, you tend to overreact to small things. Get triggered and then feel confused or ashamed. Okay, it's important that we don't judge ourselves because our nervous system is a very sophisticated early warning system. It lets us know before our conscious mind if something feels good or doesn't feel good. Okay, so it's really important that we don't judge ourselves, that we learn to be curious and compassionate. So number 5 is you are anxious or feel on edge, even when, again, there's no particular reason why you might feel that. I remember someone saying to me, I feel like I've got this background anxiety. And that was something that I experienced at one point. You know, especially as a child, I was anxious a lot of the time. And even if I noticed that I wasn't feeling anxious, I'd find something to worry about. Okay. Happily, I did learn, you know, after being quite an anxious person for a long time, how to shift that. Okay. So number 6, you avoid stillness or being alone. It makes you feel uncomfortable. I always remember sharing a house with someone and she could never be still. Sometimes I'd be sitting in the kitchen eating my dinner with no radio on or whatever, and she'd come in and she'd turn the radio on for me and then leave the room because she felt I needed some stimulation. Okay. And, you know, I don't know about you, but nowadays I do find that often if I am at home watching, eating or something, I will be watching something on my laptop or on the telly. And actually, it reminds me, gosh, I used to be able to sit and eat a meal without doing that. And maybe I need to practice that a bit more. Okay. So the next one is number 7. You feel deeply responsible for other people's emotions, but disconnected from your own. So as I said, be curious which of those you can resonate with. So do feel free to let me know in the chat if you wish. Okay. So I want you to consider that these are not faults. They're adaptations. And they often develop for very good reasons, which relate to what I was talking about earlier, about our childhood experience and the degree to which we are allowed or encouraged to express ourselves. So let's look at really gentle practice to begin exploring what might be below the surface. And as I said earlier, we don't need to dig or push. You can approach things really gently, and this is all about just going at your own pace. So I want to share this 4-step process. Number 1 is to connect to your body. And we could do this right now. I invite you to close your eyes. Obviously, only close your eyes if it's safe to do so. Obviously, don't close your eyes if it's not safe. But I invite you just to take a breath. Breathe in through your nose, into your belly, and breathe out of your nose, as long as it's comfortable for you to do so. So Tip says, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So thanks for letting me know. Okay, it's good to have that awareness. You might think, oh, that's a lot, but you've got that awareness. That's the first step. So I invite you, as I say, just to connect to your body. Breathe in through your nose as long as that's comfortable, into your belly, and breathe out of your nose, just letting your out breath be a little longer than your in breath. And as you breathe in and out, just tuning in to your body. Step 2 is to just notice. Notice the sensations, the symptoms, the emotions, without engaging that part of your mind that can analyse, interpret, catastrophize, create stories or alarm. By doing this, we are training ourselves to build our window of tolerance to what's going on in the body. And by not activating the mind that might worry about those sensations, this is training you to be able to stay in your body in a relaxed, healing state. In very simple terms, we can just notice, do I feel good? Do I not feel good? Okay, that's enough. And when we do that, when we practice that, and I encourage you to do that throughout the day. You might just do that when the kettle's boiling or after you've been to the bathroom. You might just sit down for a moment and just check in. Remember, not forcing anything, but you're just building that connection between the brain and body. And when we do that, it can help bring those subconscious responses into our consciousness. I was sharing a story about that this morning, and I was talking about the fact that I was in a cafe with a friend and I was telling her about these kind of techniques that I'd learned. And I said, if you like, we can do it right now. And she said, sure. And I said, I want you just to tune into your body and just notice anywhere where there's a sensation. And she said, actually, I notice in my lower back there is some tightness. And so I took her through this process. And as a result of going through these steps, she realised that she was carrying some anger to do with stuff that was going on with her family. And she recognised what she needed to do. And when I asked her to check back in with her body, she noticed that the sensation in her back had markedly reduced. Okay? So, step 3 is to explore. And you can do this by journaling, by just writing down whatever's in your head. You can use prompts such as, when I notice this sensation in my body, what might my body be holding on to? Or you could ask yourself, what emotion is around right now? Or a slightly exploratory question is, what emotion was unwelcomed or unsafe for me to feel or express when I was younger? And step 4 is to cultivate safety. And you could do this by saying to yourself, even though I'm experiencing these sensations, these symptoms, these emotions, right now I am safe and they will pass. When I get triggered, I'm remembering a past experience. But again, right now, I am safe. You may have heard me share this before, but an exercise I get clients to do is to look around the room and ask yourself, is there a tiger in the room? i.e., is there a threat in this moment? If the answer is no, then right now, in this moment, you are safe. Again, you could say that to yourself. Right now, in this moment, I am safe. I am remembering. A couple of kind of mantras I would say to myself when I got particularly triggered. I decided to train as a hypnotherapist coach and neuro-linguistic program practitioner. And I made the decision 2 weeks before the course started. And then for 2 weeks, I panicked, thinking, am I ready to do this? Because I'd done some brain training approach a few months before. I still had more work to do. And I was thinking, am I really ready to do all this? It's a big commitment. It's a lot of money. So I was panicking, stressing. And so I kept saying to myself, I trust in my mind and body's incredible healing power. I trust in my ability to make decisions that support me. And by the time the course started, literally the night or two before, I started feeling more relaxed from doing this for 2 weeks. Okay, so I invite you to practice those steps as long as it feels okay for you to do so. If any step doesn't feel okay, then just skip that and do what you feel is right for you. So as I say, uncovering repressed emotions is important. Why? Well, when we uncover the emotions, when we acknowledge them, allow them, feel them, express them appropriately, take action when appropriate, this can liberate our energy and it can help the body move into that regulated state. And in that state, the body can do important healing work. Okay? So I invite you to consider you don't have to fix your emotions. It is useful to acknowledge them. Okay? To build capacity to feel our emotions, process our emotions, express appropriately and act, take appropriate action. So awareness is the first step to healing. So as Dip says, I'm aware that I do all of those things. That's good. You have that awareness. Okay. So if you notice that some of those signs of repressed emotions resonate, remember you're not broken. You've just been protecting yourself. And your strategy for protection was really useful at one point. It made sense at the time. It may be limiting, and it may be limiting you now, but it did serve a purpose. So you can thank that part of you that was trying to protect you. Okay? So I'm going to pause there. I'd love to know, what's your takeaway? What's something you're going to take away from watching this video? What's an action you could take? Okay, it's really, someone said this to me, it's great that you're learning, watching videos, etc. But it's really useful to think about, okay, what is one takeaway from this? What is one action I'm going to take? Let me know in the chat if you like. Okay, so I'm creating this video because I'm totally committed to helping you move towards your goals, even if we never do any work together. Okay, as I said earlier, I create the content that I would have found helpful. So if you want more mind-body based tools for healing, do hit the notification button, hit subscribe. Also, to let you know, I offer a couple of more things to kind of help you move forward. One is the resilience group coaching. I do these calls twice a month. There's no charge, donations are welcome. And we start each session with a nervous system regulation practice. And often most people say, that actually really helped me feel more regulated, more calm. If you'd like to know more about the resilience group coaching, comment the word group below. So as I say, I create lots of content on this channel. Check out the playlists. If you'd like to support the channel, I will put the link to a donation link. You know, you're welcome just to even leave £1 or $1. If you want to go faster, then I do work with people one-to-one. I am going to be starting a new Building Resilience group coaching. If you'd like more information about that, just comment the word resilience below. If you've got any questions, then leave it in the chat or get in touch. If you've got any topics you'd like me to cover, let me know. If I think I've got something useful to say on that topic, I will cover it. If you'd like more tips, do join my Facebook group. I post every day tips to help you move forward. Again, I'll pop the link. Actually, I think I've put the link below already, but if not, I will do this right after this video. Dare to dream big dreams. Keep going. Wishing you great health. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye for now.